ladies and gentlemen, it is the final time of the Intel Extreme Masters Oakland qualifiers for Europe. I am Lee Man Smith, and joining me is Matchroom once again. He's going to be with me all day long. North America will follow, but first we have a best of 5. And Matchroom, we've already had some shockers before we've even reached this final.
Oh, yeah. This grouping is a little bit different than a lot of people were expecting. Specifically, teams like Kingwin, they were really expected to be making it into this final and potentially making it all the way through the qualifier in one of the first 4 spots. So with the mix-ups that we have right now, we have a lot of teams that are coming in very dark horse, like we were talking about beforehand. You were surprised yourself whenever we saw that Call of Duty team came through really performing very well. Now, here's what we have that's on right now, though. If you guys are familiar with Sauna Boys, that's going to be Havu Gaming. Just recently picked them up. I know that they're one of the crowd favorites inside of this. Specifically want to call it G2. They've been performing extremely well right now. They just recently signed a team that hadn't been playing in a lot of events, so I saw that they were getting a little bit of flack on this on social media. But it was really great to see them come through, really perform, and really just do the org a lot of justice on this. So I know that there are a lot of G2 fans out there, a lot of Havu fans. Really excited to see how we go through with this, and maybe seeing a couple of these unsigned teams potentially making it in and really stepping up and making a name for themselves in the qualifier. Yeah,
and speaking of Call of Duty people, obviously Fantasy, that's also in that team, played on the same team as Mark and Blackmane, which is Mark is playing as Smash Puss. But let's talk about where the flight is going. Let's have a look across the map as we pan out. It's going to go straight across Sosnovka, so just a cut across, straight across Ferry Pier, effectively, from south to north.
And this is going to be very interesting. Specifically, we saw in the last round, a lot of teams really love Georgia Pool. This is going to be a really easy Georgia Pool drop, but that might discourage some of the people from actually dropping there. You know, you start double thinking yourself sometimes, like, oh, the plane's really close to George, should we still go there? We do have a plethora of people that are dropping, pushing over towards a military base. So we're really excited to see how these teams are really going to try to figure out how to play this drop, as it's going to make it really hard to get over towards the far eastern side of the map. But that one doesn't get the most attention, you know. Kamishki, Milta Power, and Milta tend to be where any attention does tend to come in that side. Potentially Yasnaya as well.
Okay, let's see where the recognized teams start to go. Let's see. I can see that Dominators, which was the guys that, I mean, you could argue they knocked Kingwin out. They knocked Kingwin out. They were the guys that got the final kills and managed to get through. They're going into military base. Let's go forward. Let's look for where G2 are. Now, G2's strategy a number of times has been to hit like prison, mansion, buildings in and around Lipovka area. It looks like they may be going that way. I'm trying to see whether they're going for a long drop or not. They are swinging that way. There's a lot of people at the moment passing over School and Rozhok area. Just a single team in Pachinki. Expect this. There's a lot of people. Looks like Crimson and Against All Authorities both heading towards South Georgia Pol at the moment.
And it looks like they might actually come in contact with each other, but they could pull off, all depending. Like, that tends to be the default strategy whenever you see this happen, is a couple of people will run up on each other. See, the Crimsons managed to secure these double-ups over here, the duplexes, depending on how they're called. Now, that's going to lead to Oraxes to kind of pull back out. Yeah, he secured himself a UAZ. They're just going to separate out and just kind of move on different sides of this road. One's going to kind of take the southern side, the other one's going to take the northern side. But the circle is up, and Georgia Pool is inside the circle. So all of these squads that did that really slow push to the east, we still see some parachutes still up and active, are instantly going to have to land, get what loot they can, and turn around and push back west.
Yeah, and that's G2. It's G2. They're still going for the long drop. You can see there in the air. Clayton, Tyrone, Wacko just managed to drop, so he's just landed. Outsider and co, they're heading up towards, are they going to go Yasnaya? There's a lot of people that were going long. Like, there's still a crew going towards Stauber. There is shots going on in Saverny. Not sure what he's shooting at, though.
It seems to be just walls. I don't know. Oh, no, he's
trying to hit the... Yeah, okay. Trying to hit the parachutes. It's Velen. It's Velen they're shooting at.
Pulled him back off, and so we actually do have a runover with a vehicle already as well.
Okay, that's Janssen. Is that over at Yasnaya? Because that's where there's a lot of vehicles.
Yeah.
Yes, it is Yasnaya.
And we still have several people up and floating around inside of Yasnaya as well, just now coming down to make landfall. It seems like this could be a little bit of a contention point, as Janssen does manage to come and grab a shotgun, but he is right next to Just Insane. And you can see that the rest of his squad for Janssen is coming up right back behind them, as Crew is also in a position. Outsider as well. Just Insane's kind of gotten pulled off and separated from the rest of his team. There is going to be a res on the person that did get run over, though.
So Jensen, like you say, over the road, away from his team. The rest of the ex-Overwatch players, actually, these guys, ex-Dignitas Overwatch team, which is actually, I tell a lie, Crew was, I forget which one Crew was in now. I tell a lie, that was Artier and Drakius. I'm thinking Crew was in one of the French teams. Janssen, with the shotgun, has just insane, right opposite him in the building, with the micro Uzi. I don't know if they're going to try and match each other. We'll find out. There is more vehicles passing by. We won't focus on this too much because there's a lot going on around the map because of the rotations that this circle is creating. And there's a man down. Panzer's just knocked Owen. That's actually over in Gatka.
Yes, it looks like Arwen was doing a push over into his area, and so Pants just gets the knock onto it. Not actually going to secure the kill, but he's going to bleed out anyway. Well, I say that. Looks like Juckus might come over there and try to get him up. So going to be a long run. It's a potential chance, though. It's going to be close if he makes it over there. This is one of the risks coming in with this trash looting strategy. Whenever everybody separates out, you hit like Gatka, and everybody just goes from complex to complex, you're going to get these tiny skirmishes where you kind of run into each other. I wonder how questionable and how influential it's going to be that we're not actually going to see Arwen go down all the way and get killed. This is going to be a res, as you can see the vehicles are going to be coming in now. That could have been a very easy kill to secure, but it looks like nerves just got the better of him. Everybody's wanting to play safe, play for those points, specifically in round one, so just immediately pulled out after getting the down on it.
Well, we just saw, I think that was Steve from G2 getting a couple of shots on him from I Don't Really Mind there. Didn't really land it. I did just catch a glimpse of Havu. Havu was set up on the bridge, actually. Are they going to set a bridge camp up? And so here, it's something they did do when we watched them in the very first round at the opening. Bikini model underneath. They've just come up in a boat. So I think they go Novo to begin with? I didn't actually catch a glimpse of where they landed first. But we may actually have our first little bridge camp being set up here.
All depends on how the pathing comes in from the military base island now. Again, most players are pretty familiar with, okay, don't go to the bridge right next to the circle. So we might see them opt into the eastern bridge, and we don't see anybody camping that at the direct time. But sometimes greed gets the better of you, and everybody really wants to go and get that like last piece of loot, come in late, and then that's where you might see a risk on somebody trying to push across that western bridge. Now, we do have a lot of people kind of living along the Georgia Pool area, but I think that they're all just kind of standing off. We actually do have a team that's going up to Zarki and looting Zarki, which is not too far from Circle. Zarki doesn't tend to get that much attention, but we've been seeing it get regular attention tonight.
Yeah, there's a squad up there, and there's still the guys in style, remember. Nobody went Kameshki this time, surprisingly. King Kevin's is going around. Obviously, there's a long time in the circle still. We still have these two squads in Yasnaya as well. They're not connecting. I'm seeing quite a few people in Georgia Pole North. You see, I was just wondering if that's two separate squads. It is. And I was mentioning Havu, I Don't Really Mind, and Jorski. Long way off from them. They're over by towards the shelter, just north of shelter. So they've gone for the 2-2 split of effectively playing duos against squads. They're just pretty confident in their play here before they join up with the rest of the team. G2, well, there's 3 members there. I don't know where the 4th is.
Well, you often see in the North Georgian Pool area.
On his own.
Everybody kind of lands, they look next to each other, but it's very cordial and nice, and everybody just kind of gets their own loot and then separates out. Sometimes you'll kind of push somebody out of it, but we don't see too many squads really contest for North George. Usually they just separate and pull out. But yeah, we are seeing a lot of very loose, i.e. trash looting that's going on right now, where a lot of solo players or duo players are separating out, specifically across the western coast over there. You can see that's happening quite a bit. There is a squad that's over down next to Primorsk, and they do have a crate that's landed next to him, but I think it's a little bit too far out. Maybe if somebody gets a boat and comes over from military base, we might see somebody pick up that crate, but it's kind of off in no man's land. I don't know if anybody would have seen it land there.
Yeah, and it's dropped out in the ocean. I don't know whether anyone's going to bother trying to risk that. It's a fairly risky job. Against All Authorities, look like they're starting to make a move. They're heading a little towards the south. Crimson are passing them by. We have, I think it's a Vanguard, isn't it? The Russian team up in the North Georgia Pole actually has a squad moving in towards them now. I think looks like they're moving, trying to find a vehicle. I'm going to guess they're heading over to the old garage. Unless there's nothing in the garage, which it may well be the case.
Both these squads are secure up in Georgia Pool, but it's such an early circle, so everybody's trying to find some vehicle in case they need to. Now, this is looking kind of dangerous. As you can see, Unconspicuous and Maddie should be able to see this person that's running right in front of them. Are they going to be able to take any shots at this? You can see that a crossbow is pulled out, but not going to take a risk with it, so that's going to allow a free move coming through. Again, just polite, nice northern Georgia Pool. Nobody really messes with each other up there.
Well, You've played different games to me. Drenny's looks like he may well actually try and push this. There's that nice 3-story building next to the apartments. I think he's going to go into there. But the next apartment definitely has Mayday in there. So let's see whether they actually connect with one another. I'll keep my eye on the map as well, because the rotations are going to start happening. You can see, if you look at the map now, there is starting to be a lot of people on the move, migrating their way in there. Crimson being one of them. Velen, very much on his own, has got into that north building complex. Nigatka, he's on the full scout. The rest of his team are so far away from him, there's no way they can get close. T-Bone taking a lot of shots here as he tries to pass on through. Crimson taking a lot of damage. They're going to get themselves. It's all about getting the complexes now, trying to get yourself the perfect little camping ground. Velen's doing just that as he passes on by with that motorbike once again. Crimson look happy with this complex, though. I think they're going to set up an occupation.
Well, that's what it's going to be about right now. Who gets most control over Gatka? And right now you can see that it is definitely going to be Arwen, Ewin, Juckus, and Fausto. They have a good control area, have multiple buildings secured, and are really going to be forcing people out and around them. And oh, we talked about that Georgia pool. Apparently, it is actually going to get a little bit violent as we do see a kill come out from a push on this. So Mayday does go down. We can see that Keen and Drainus are up here. It's going to put Unconspicuous in a little bit of an awkward spot.
Yeah, they managed to take them down. Mumino off the side there, so that's 2 down. Like you say, Unconspicuous on his own. And they spotted him out, and he's just sitting on the 3rd floor at the moment. Drainus taking peeks, but doesn't look like he's going to get too into this one. Bearing in mind, this is a best of 5, so there's a lot going on at the moment. These guys obviously looking at round finishes, etc. Oh my word, is that Velen's taking shots? It is. Velen's down. Velen is down and dead. So Velen goes down from G2 there. I said he was very much a long way apart. Now what has been happening, Crimson, they're taking shots from Millall as well. So everybody's trying to find their positions at the moment, and it's starting to get very aggressive.
We often talk about it. These movement phases are the most dangerous parts of the early game. You can see that several times squads will lean into sending out a scout. Just put like one person on a vehicle, go say, hey, is there anybody over here? It's extremely risky, but it does allow the potential of not having a squad wipe occur, because naturally if he was running over there with all of his friends, that would have been really, really bad. So only lose one inside that, but now they have to figure out what they're going to do and how they're going to position inside of here. As again, everybody's opting into a centralized area, but look at this. We're just seeing Fausto just fight everybody that's around them. There's this kill box that's happening right next to Gatka, and anybody that's kind of pushing to the west of it, where it's just vehicle after vehicle just getting torn to shreds.
Oh, Fausti, that was risky. Crimson, it's Crimson that seems to be taking a lot of shots. I hope they got a lot of bullets stored up there. The rotation's continuing to go on though. You see Dominator moving in. I did see the rest of G2 making their way through as well. I think G2 going to get happy with the complex they're in. I think they're about to settle themselves down. Wookie Bookie taking shots as well. Outsider crew, they're all moving in. The rest of G2, which is Tyrone Superfresh, aka Steve, is to the north. It's Trifeli that's taking the shots. Let's have a look towards them as they try and take a couple of hits on Kate. The rest of his team join up. So they've got themselves, what, 3, 4 UAZs there. So a lot of vehicle coverage for them. Let's look towards the north. Georgie Paul guys are going to start making their move. Next circle comes in, and oh my word, it is very much a coastline.
And nobody's really in the water as of yet. We don't see anybody with any boats. So that's going to force everybody to really push into this rougher area. We saw one of these circles similar earlier where we had a lot of games happening, a lot of fights happening around the swamp area. But look at this. Insolenzo is driving along the beach line, and you can see that Fawn and Lux are taking some shots at him, just trying to stay alive off to the side of this. Rexays has gone down. Everybody's starting to try to push into here, but there's just not a lot of really solid complexes. So we might see a lot of people ending up having to opt into hills, trying to find some deflates to play into. And it's just a matter of making it in and getting in safe at this point, because look right smack dab in the middle of the map. There are so many vehicles right now. As we can see, Gustav is running right by Crimson.
No Loot Gaming trying to get themselves in there. They're going to run in. There really isn't a great deal of buildings. I'm going to zoom the map in a little bit more. You can see there's just not a lot of buildings, not a lot of cover. I can see G2 are taking shots now. Just about everywhere, shots fired. There's no point looking single-handedly at a single target because there is no ground. I think the swamp is going to get very busy. It's exactly like we saw, ironically, in the last game.
And it could be a very awkward fight over in that position. Now, some of the teams are going to opt into a little bit further south. You can see that everybody's being forced out of this centralized strategy. Again, we're getting more downs. Everybody's just trying to find some safe path, but there's just nothing to be found.
No Loot Gaming down twice. They've only got crew alive. Janssen was down as well. Crew's going to push on. It's Wookie Bookie. He's going to try and deal with. Wookie Bookie gets down, and Crew will save his team. But the nade came in. Oh my word! Wookie Bookie gets the last laugh as his grenade lands, hits at 2 members, downs the 3rd, and Wookie Bookie go in hero mode, and that is No Look Gaming in real trouble.
They have a very strong position where they're at. A lot of people really like to play next to this radio tower, but you want to do it with more members than they presently have. It's just a little dangerous to be this wide out in the open. You have a lot of little dips in the ground that you can play around, but now if anybody pushes on them, they could be in a world of trouble. It's going to be really interesting to see if they choose to stay in here. Given the amount of death that we're seeing in this movement phase, they might end up having to retreat, but it might just be safer to stay there and pray nobody looks their direction.
Well, we see Dranis heading on past. He just got himself a couple of kills. That unconspicuous, by the way, the last man standing was in Georgia Pole. He's still very much on his own. Rory looks like he's getting hit pretty hard by Just Insane as they move on. As I zoom the circle down a little more as we get into a much closer round. And actually there is a care package arriving near Crew. So No Loot Gaming might get themselves some loot. Crimson, I've got to be careful. They've got this hillside. Oh my word, the amount of shots going on. There's a building complex being searched. It's Mumino's been down. Mumino's been down. These are the Russians in trouble here. King Kevin's. Keen's going to push on out. Keen manages to down him. His teammate comes in. Miguel taking the shots. He gets Keen down. He's going to get pushed by Dranis and Onu. Taken very low. And they're going to get knocked down. They lost 1 member though. So that's 1 Russian down. Keen should be revived. They've cleared out their area. Dranis very close to going down as well. But they live to fight another day.
Just off to the southeast of this, we have another push that's happening. You can see that Taylor and Kaizen are in a little bit of a fight. Already 2 people down. This has turned into a 2v3. Taylor is really low on life. They're just having to play along the side of this hill, and there we go. We've got 1 down coming up from EdoCam that's going through. Now it's just all onto Kaizen, and he just can't secure anything with it, so he's going to get taken down, and that's going to be a lot of loot and vehicles just covering the side of that hill.
Well, it looks like G2 have found themselves an area they are comfortable with. It's far from convincing, but it is on the edge of the swamp. It's where we thought a lot of people would start ending up. It's the garage area or complex, whatever you prefer to call it. Still just with the 3 members remaining for them, remember, as they lost Velen earlier on. A lot of shots coming out as well near them. Let's have a look to Against All Authority. They're very much sitting comfortable so far. Probably would prefer to be more central in the circle at the moment, but they are just to the north-hand side, and now shots on the coastline. There's a team that tried to move in on that rock area, and, well, unfortunately, they got caught in a crossfire from about 3 different angles.
Well, this is going to be very interesting as we have the circle that's pressing in. Enzelenzo and his team has a nice area that they can control. They can have clear sight lines for multiple different buildings, but it's all going to come down to where this next circle is. We have a lot of people really spread out around like the southern central part of the circle. If it opts to a northern section, could be very, very dangerous, as all these guys are right next to each other and going to have to move.
Oh, Raptor G's coming in. This is bad territory, buddy. Not really got anywhere to go. He's going straight in. He's Caucus, his teammate, so he's going to get into his team, but Havu have the rock very much covered out. Zuda, I would not challenge if I were you. PQ lose indeed. Get yourself back in there. So, let's have a look. Everybody's now got a position, almost. So it's all about when this next circle's going to come in. Still 1 man that's trying to run it outside. That's Magni. There is 1 singular boat as well, which I would say at the moment is probably pretty confident, but I think they're getting targeted by Havu.
Well, we should also point out that Havu has a boat right next to them, so if they have to escape from this position, they do have some type of variable that they can use to get out of there. But yeah, they are throwing out some bullets at about, what, 300-400 meters, connecting with a few of them, really forcing them back, saying, hey, you don't aggress any further this direction. About to have the circle update, and I just feel bad for Magni. He's having to do such a long run on foot, just trying to get to the circle. If it goes south, this is just going to be terrible for him. He's just trying to make his way over there.
Bless, I have to zoom out the circle for him. Oh, look at that. There's still quite a few people, but G2 are outside of it. Dave's team down the south, it's just outside of it. The boat is in, so it's literally 4 squads that have to make the move. Squeezing another 4 squads into this area. Looks like AAA want to make the move into that next complex. Shadow is taking a peek, and it is actually unoccupied at the moment. These yellow buildings ahead of him.
Now, what's going to be really interesting with this is he's doing the forward play onto it. You can see that he's kind of scouting out, seeing what's going on. There are a couple of bullets that are landing next to him, but no real hard hits. Is that going to discourage him from going over to the yellows that are right next to him? It does look like it will. And no, there we go. He did it. He leaned out and then realized, no, the bullets were coming from further out. Now he's going to land back over here. They should give the free pass and say, okay, guys, it's time for you to come in. Yep, they hop in their vehicles and come forward. So we're seeing the scouting really pay off there, where earlier we saw the real dangers of it. So now we're getting a little bit of a skirmish that's going on. A big part of this is going to be how crew and butts play around this radio tower, because they are still in that location. Multiple squads could be approaching from the north over towards them, so they're going to have to make sure that they have really good aim and scare away anybody that encroaches on their area.
Well, Crimson have been sat in that territory. They've been trading shots with Keen for a very long time, and like you say, there is 2 squads coming in behind them now that will be making their way through, and certainly looking at Anfa and Aros and Pingut that are coming up. Pingut, they're not going to be comfortable, I don't think, in that location. There's a small complex. It looks like they're going to be happy to just go inside that complex and sit it out on the edge of the road, because there's really not a lot of cover ahead of them. They've got a long open run if they were to move in the next circle. And let's have a look down the south, because G2 are obviously working their way in. Apologies for zooming the camera in. I do it to try and control where I'm looking. Lux and Dave, I don't really know how they're going to get out of this complex, actually. They've got a massive open territory ahead of them. I assume they have some UAZs back here. There's a singular UAZ. That's all they've got, and it's such an open run that they have to make.
Yeah, the buggy that they have back here has already had the tires shot out on it. They're in a world of hurt right now. They have to figure out how they're going to come forward. There are a couple of dips in the land in front of them if they wanted to play a little bit more towards the east, but there's no directed cover any way that they could go. They could potentially push back over towards the west and follow along the coastline, but that's got the dangers of just time, because it's 4 seconds now. The circle is starting to push in, and they're actually having to head away from the circle right now. And even if they do circle back down and around, they're just going to bump into the G2 as they have to push back north.
Yeah, I think that's actually where they're looking as well. That they were thinking, okay, let's get over to that ridge, so we can't go that way. So it's literally forcing Lux. Lux is heading that way first, straight into Waco. Waco sat there, and I think Waco just took a shot at him. Yeah, he did.
He does see them, so he's going to feed that information. Yeah, you see everybody else on G2 instantly turn around. He's waiting for them to reposition. This is a nice call out, making sure everybody has awareness of what's going on. And there we go. We've got him opening up and taking a ton of damage.
Yeah, Tyrone is okay. Steve, Clayton, Fantasy, and Waco. It's one of those moments when you can't. Once they get to change and put gamer tags in game, I'll be very happy, man. As a caster, it's a tricky situation. So Zenta gets downed. These guys did actually qualify through in the initial group, actually, with G2. These guys did. So no strangers to one another, but they're sat in the blue. Zenta, is he going to get taken down by the play zone? I think he might have got revived and just about gets healed off. He does. But Waco's still taking shots, and now they're going to basically sitting in the blue. G2 themselves have to make a move as well, by the way. They can't just sit here comfortably. So it's actually an awkward situation for them. They're going to have to move up, knowing full well there's a full squad behind them.
And it's going to be really interesting, because this is only the second circle, so not a lot of damage coming through. Definitely survivable, all depending on the amount of meds, specifically stims that you have. See that Lux is actually coming down and playing the forward part of this, but Dave is taking so much damage, goes for the jump and gets knocked down. So Lux is going to start doing the aggress off to the side, but at this point I think that it's done for them. They have to find some type of angle, and every angle is being held by G2. Yeah,
they have it covered. They're inside the zone. So let's have a look what the rotation's going, because look at that circle. It's really good for AAA, but oh my word, there is a lot of gunfight down on the coastline as Encelenso from Havo tried to make their way up. He's had to dive it into the water, basically testing the waters literally with that UAZ to see if the rest of his team could make it up there, and they cannot. That is a straightforward answer.
I haven't seen a UAZ explode and bounce up in the water before, so that made me a little bit happy there. But you can see, yeah, there's a lot of fighting that's happening around this mountainside. Inconspicuous has made himself down here as well. See that Raptor G is off in the back. He's got a UAZ. Everybody's just trying to figure out how they're going to make it through. Raptor G is getting taken down. So they have to figure out how they're going to push forward out of this, though. They're kind of in an awkward spot. They still do have the boat that they can make it down to, but you can see that Inconspicuous is kind of holding it.
Well, the swamp is very much getting busy right now. And apologies, because it is a nightmare to spectate the swamp. There's so many trees around the edge of it. So I will be drifting through trees. Let's have a look. There's a lot of shots continuing here, as looks like Frenzo and co tried to move in. It's Daiki, Frenzox, sorry, I should say. But they have to be cautious, because Havu are still over on that left-hand side. They have to make a move sooner or later. And honestly, really the only way they can come is probably along here, unless they make that open run on the beach. Bikini Model tried it and got took down by Blade.
And this is going to be a very awkward situation now as we have everybody just trying to push into this very last group. You can see that Longu and the rest of his team have a very strong defendable position, and they're just shooting at anybody that comes near them. Not all of their squad is inside the circle yet, but they just want to make sure to discourage everyone that comes around them. 3 seconds before the circle starts to collapse in, so it's on the wider side, so this one should move pretty quickly. But look at how many people are still not inside the circle, D-Man. We probably have 20 people still trying to push their way in. This could be absolutely bloody along the southern border of this circle.
Cozier getting shot in the back. Ono also getting shot in the back. Cozier goes down to Dranis. Ono having to heal himself up. Taylor's moving in. Tower's moving in. They're on the back of them. And like you say, the swamp is about to get very bloody in the water. Ono's managed to heal himself up, but I don't think he's got a great little first aid. I don't think he can afford to do it. He's bandaging, which is a sign of desperation.
I have this camera pulled out, and there are so many squares running around. You can see vehicles are starting to try to run in. Oh, Blackman's starting to take a lot of damage, and he does get knocked down. Koka's managed to get the kill onto that. We're going to end up with a lot of very weak squads coming out of these fights, but one of them is going to have to figure out some way to make it through, as it's just casualty after casualty. It's just a fight here, a fight there. There's about 500 meters of just squad-on-squad action happening here.
G2 recruit, the guys that are in the blue at the moment, they're going to come out of the back of it. I think they're hoping, but Waco just got nailed down. Wick took him out. Nero's still there. Looks like Steve's going to be able to help him out. Steve's going to try and push. Nero finishes him off. Tyrone will take him down, so Steve from G2 survives, but the blue might cut him down. It's going to be pretty high right now. I don't think he's going to get a heal. He's not. He's taken down. Meanwhile, Clayton, he's on next to nothing at the side. He's going to get cut out. Tyrone goes down, so Clayton, the last man standing for G2, as they push up in the swamp, but he's got a 3-man squad right ahead of him.
Oh, and look at this. The next circle is up and active, and only one squad is in it. Everybody still has to keep pushing north from the swamp fight. We're already down to 39 people, but it's going to actually be it's going to be Shadow 1K, so it's going to be against all authority that just have a solid circle positioning right now and can just fire at anybody that tries to push towards them.
Clayton just sticking happily on the edge of that swamp, like you say. And it's actually played pretty well for, I think, Havu around the side. To actually tell a lie, I think Encelenso is the only member of Havu that are there. There's quite a lot of people living the life in the water. The Russians are still looking pretty good as well. I can see Keen in there for AVG. They are still looking good, Dranis and Onu, but like you say, this has worked out very well for the Frenchman. Didn't have a great deal of luck in that previous qualifier we followed. Crimson making the move. They're stuck in the bush and in all sorts of trouble. Miraku and Tex, the last two standing. T-Bone should be up. He's down at the moment. He should be able to get safe in the bushes. So they kind of pushed up on a bush and then found themselves in trouble. Shots from against all authority. Let's have a look. They have prime position, as you say. They have these little yellow complexes. It was all they had to settle for at the time, but it's turned out to be God tier for them, hasn't it?
Yeah, they just have so much control. Look, they are still the only people really inside the circle. There's a solo that's a little bit further north, and the rest of the squad's trying to push in. But all of these squads to the south and the southeastern side, they're all in a world of trouble. The circle is starting to push in, and one more second, and you can see this. Oh, everybody's just trying to push in towards these yellow buildings now. Intuitive is just driving in on the Dacia. Back behind him is Keen. This is not a group you just want to run straight into.
Oh, he gets Shiv down, though.
He gets the down on Shiv.
This is the Russians. They're making the move. Let's see where the rest of his team are. Are they going to try and blast in and try and support him? Monkey pops out. Onu currently down. Unconscious is unconspicuous is unconscious on the ledge there. Monkey gets down by Onu as well. And he's going to get finished off. Shiv's crawling away from this one. The Russians are wrecking the French parade right now. Shadow and Oroxe, the only two that are standing. Dranis has made his move and Keen is there as well. And now the Russians, AVG, they have 3 men alive and in this complex.
Meanwhile, Shiv is still bleeding out. They can't go for the res. Shadow's looking for it, but there's so much fighting happening back and forth. There's another squad that's trying to come in, so they turned around and were putting damage onto that. Both squads kind of working together to make sure that this squad does not come up onto these yellow buildings. So they had a little bit of a ceasefire, so everybody's going to die off onto that. We are already down to 14 people. Whoa, D-Man, we lost about 20 people in that last push.
Yeah, that was just a massacre. Look at the, if you look at X-rays, it's just like the bodies that are just made their way in towards this area. But it's amazing that we've got 3 now in this complex. Shiv was down, but he's going to get back up, so Oroxe should sort him out. I'm very impressed with AVG, how they've managed to push in, not only bully AAA out of this complex, but they've just brute forced the way and maybe taken control of it. Look on towards the coastline. That's where Encelenso was. Unfortunately, his team, Havu, have gone down as far as I can tell. Keen has just downed Tex. That's Crimson that have been hit around the side.
I just want to point out right now, Magni has finally finished his run into the circle. He did survive. He has met up with the rest of his teammates, and they are the ones that are holding this northern area. Crimson's in a little bit of trouble now, as you can see. Just Insane is stepping forward. They're kind of playing off to the side. Really, it's going to be about Blade and how his team are going to try to play across these two fields. As again, we still see that these yellow buildings are circle favored, so it's going to come down to all these other squads really trying to figure out some way to push in towards here. And let's be honest, these guys that are in these yellow buildings are already antsy and just looking for anybody that's trying to push in.
Yeah, let's be honest. Blade, Longo, Fon, no chance. That beach run is horrific. Oh, have they noticed Fon's pushing out? Okay, they have. Oh, he just gets down, and look at that. Exactly. The second they pop out, Shiv and Shadow, thank you very much. We'll have a couple more kills. We're down to 4 now. It's the Russians that are still looking good, though. They have the most kills. They have 3 members alive, and they're looking pretty solid as it is. It's really... I think it's just a battle between AVG and AAA. Everybody else is just a spectator right now. Crimson trying to make their way through. Can he sneak in the back there, Miraku? Keen has seen him, I believe. Let's have a look at Keen. Let's switch the law. Great. I love this spec mode sometimes.
I don't think that they saw him. He managed to land down. He hasn't quite managed to make it inside the circle. I guess he thought he was safe. But he's actually going to be able to heal up. He's just retreating back. Yeah, there's bullets coming out his way. So he knows he has to play the safe. But Just Insane and the rest of his team are still up. There's 3 members hiding back behind this UAZ over here. So we have 8 people up and active.
Oh, he's bandaging. Crimson's bandaging. Miraku. But he's held on. Is he going to get top 3? He's top 4 right now. Grenades coming out. Don't forget AAA can make a big difference for this. No, the grenade is enough, though. It's knocked my camera sideways. Right, okay, it's a 3-man. They have this UAZ for cover, and they still have a little bit of hillside as they move in towards the French and the Russians.
I don't know if you're getting it, but I'm getting a little bit of a spectator error where it says 7 people alive, but we have 9 people alive at the direct time. So just making sure everybody knows this is a 3v3v3 right now. So it's 9 people still up and active. So we have 1 squad holding down the yellow buildings, another squad holding down the further back yellow buildings, and I'll be honest, it's going to be all up to Just Insane to see how that they can make this UAZ, make this push in. You can see smokes are going down everywhere, but they have to push in towards these yellow buildings as, man, the circle has just been absolutely loving hanging out at the spot.
And it's still kept them both in there. They've used a lot of smokes to get to this point. Now, this cover should work out well for them. It's Keen that's going to be holding the window, but it's a dangerous window to keep peeking at when there's 3 people staring back at you. Micro Uzi's being pulled out by Just Insane. Not sure if that's desperation or something he loves, but I'm not sure I'd be keeping that. I'd still stay on the AR at this range. Grenade's going to go in, and that's the only potential downside. But look how much smoke has gone down. I'm going to pan this camera out. That is a literal wall of smoke.
And that's the benefit. They managed to come in with this, and that's kind of forced the other 2 squads that are inside the yellow buildings to kind of skirmish with each other. They're trying to look out. You can see that Magni's in a little bit of a side flank, trying to get some different angles instead of just a hard push in. But Circle's about to collapse, and I think it's all going to come down to where does it go? And it goes where no one is. No buildings, no cover, right on the street, so everybody's having to run through. Magni looks like he's trying to position for catching everybody as they run back and out. Same thing with Bet.
Yeah, they have just this tiny ridgeline that they could crouch behind and maybe catch them as they push out. Shiv's going to get himself an angle. He's actually not looking. He's looking to the left. Now he's just got a glimpse. He's just realized footsteps. He like absolutely knows that there's someone there now. So Fetty and Magni have got themselves an absolute brilliant position because they're in the circle. They have to push towards them.
Exactly, and they just have to make sure to hold these 2 different angles. What they're praying for right now is a skirmish between these 2 squads as they come in. As you can see, Araxes is looking back towards them. Shadow's also looking back through, and the push is coming directly onto them. This is a very brave play.
Ah, but Shiv and Shadow catch them out. You can see the Russians pushing in. Araxe has been down. Shadow is down. Shiv's the last man standing for Against All Authority as Keen and Onu try to push around the corner. Shiv can't afford to try and help out here. And don't forget, they can still play spoiler as Magni gets Fett up. So Shiv can't get his teammate up. AA go down. They're 3rd place. Keen, he's just got a little bit of hit points remaining. And that is going to be the win for Just Insane, Magni, Fett, and Sensiban. And I believe they are the Norwegians, if I'm not mistaken. I just want to try. I can't get the website to load for me right now, but I'm pretty sure you'd have to check it for me, Matrin. But I'm pretty sure that's the Norwegian guys that finished top of Group 4.
That's what I'm trying to get it loaded up. It's loading up fairly slow for me. But I just have to say, Magni, that trip was worth it. And no, it took you forever. But
yeah, run the whole for so long in the blue, bless him.
But the #1 squad that won that round only got the one kill that mattered. That was the only thing that they had to secure, and they managed to get it. Meanwhile, Drainies, look at this. Keen getting a whole bunch of kills. A lot of kills coming out in the squads down below them, but all around, a great start for our first round. We still have 4 more of these to go, D-Man.
Yeah, I mean this is what we love, right? This is why you do this at the end of the day, to get these top teams, effectively the best in Europe. I mean, they'd already played 6 rounds just to qualify to get to these finals. Now they're 7 rounds in. The dust has settled. Against All Authority, I think they'll probably be unhappy that they didn't get the win there, but they should be happy with the 3rd place because their positioning paid off dividends because they weren't happy. They wanted to be more central. They actually got bullied away from it. They bullied out of South Georgia as well, where they finished. Didn't have a great deal to do in that game, which is why you're obviously seeing in fact they only have 7 kills.
Yeah, and one thing I did want to point out is that even though that the squad did secure 1st place, they only got that 1 kill.
Yeah.
So that means that it's not going to be this big, huge jump in points. Sure, there's going to be the points from getting 1st place, but I mean, if you look at it, the amount of kills that come in for 2nd might actually give them enough to move up into 1st place. I'd have to do some rough math on that. But we're really starting to see that these kill points are really starting to add up and be an influencer inside of these rounds.
Well, we can see, obviously, we know it is a Vanguard. It's a Vanguard that get themselves the top points. So this is what we just mentioned, right? Because of the kills. The kills have actually put a Vanguard up top. Despite the fact they finished 2nd, they are actually in 1st place on 355 points. KSU champs, 2nd place. That is obviously these guys that only got the single kill in 1st. AAA, we know all about them. They are in 3rd place. Team Crimson, well, of course, they got 4th place. We saw them. They just got a little unlucky towards the end. They had to really try and bully it around the edge of the circle so many times, running into squad after squad, which is why they've got themselves, 9 kills between them. PUBG team, the Spanish, in the end, Blade. Remember how Blade went superhero mode in the previous game? Obviously, they managed to work their way in. Unfortunately for them, they ended up on the beach. And there's nowhere really else to go. Where the circle was going, it kind of put them in a tricky situation. It does mean that while we see in 6th place on here, back from Zaki, they actually only get 7th because they got no kills. And then if you even to look down even further, because actually 6th place, despite the fact G2 finished in 11th, they got themselves 8 kills, and it's boosted them all the way up into 6th place finish. So top 6 right now stands that way. But remember, it's the top 4 that make it to Oakland. We're going to be moving to round 2, guys. There's 5 rounds to go in this game. It says best of 5. It's not really best of 5. It's just 5 rounds. You're going to play all 5 out. It's not like someone wins in 3 rounds. It's not like we're just going to ignore the last 2 rounds if everyone gets the high points. But amazing stuff. Great first round. We'll be back in a few moments, guys, for the break. We're going to jump in the server, get it set up, and we're going straight again.